Time to start. Good afternoon, everybody. The post-pandemic workplace is going to be very different. And employees in our organization will have to navigate an ocean of new opportunities and experiences, but also to adapt to new norms. If the journey will not necessarily be an easy one, at least it will force everyone to think differently. Over the last 15 months, we stay connected with our colleagues through webcasts, video conferences, to update on business, celebrate success, and create collaborative forums of people. But today, as we slowly but surely come out of lockdowns, there are some key questions. How to build on it? How will tomorrow's workplace look like? How to rethink how, when, and where things get done? How will we effectively balance our time between being connected remotely and physically work with others? Finally, and in my opinion, this is a key question, how will we reshape a work environment where colleagues can really thrive? Technology will, of course, help to be efficient and productive wherever we are. But of course, technology alone won't make hybrid work a success. On the contrary, this is the way we adopt technology and the way we adapt to the new norms that will make hybrid work a new source of productivity, a new source of engagement, and a new source of wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't only have the pleasure, but I feel it as a real privilege to welcoming Isabel De Clercq this afternoon for an exclusive and highly promising moment. As an author and a sound expert in social technology and new world of work, Isabel will share with us in a couple of minutes her latest findings that have been the foundation of her brand new book, The Hybrid Work Manifesto. I met Isabel for the very first time several years ago. It was a very sunny and warm day, exactly like today. And I perfectly remember that we held our meeting outside on the nice terrace at Kluwer offices in Mechelen to prepare our first collaboration. And believe me, from the first minute, I saw her and understood that this young and energetic lady had something very particular. She had something special. She had a vision. She had the will. She clearly had a purpose. And she had the right mindset. Now, if I look at her nice career for the last years, after 3 books and dozens of speeches at local and international level, she demonstrated that maybe at least once in my life, I was right. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Isabel De Clercq for an insightful and practical journey into the hybrid world of work. But before giving you the word, Isabel, I would like simply to tell everybody that you love interactivity and you love to be challenged. So I invite everybody, I invite all of you to very actively share your views via the chat function and to ask your questions and to challenge Isabel via the Q&A button. Even more, if you want to intervene live on screen, so just click on the button, ask for sharing my cam and a microphone. So just send it and the moderators will connect you in due time so that you can ask your question directly in the live mode to Isabel.
Alain, I have another question because now we are there in very small images. Can you make sure when I speak that I become like bigger so that the hybrid work manifesto, that the screen on top disappears, or do we stay like this in small images?
No. In fact, this slide will disappear in a couple of seconds when I finished. And for people wanting to have you in a biggest possible format, you simply click on Isabel image twice, and so you have her in the biggest format.
Okay. So, I also heard that there is a kind of an echo when I speak, maybe with you. So maybe you will have to, when I'm speaking, mute the micro.
In terms of setting, anyway, in my side here in La Hulpe, there is no single echo when you speak, Isabel.
Okay.
So, okay. After the talk, so at 6 o'clock, everybody will also have the opportunity to join the open roundtable. to directly interact with you, Isabel, to ask a question. And so you also have the possibility to interact with other participants and to share ideas, views, beliefs, and so on in an informal way. So from 6 to 6:30. So, ladies and gentlemen, time to go. I wish you a pleasant and fruitful moment together. Ladies and gentlemen, Isabel De Clercq.
Thank you, Alain, for this beautiful introduction. And I do remember, Alain, the first moment that we met, and it was indeed in the offices of Kluwer in Mechelen. And you have to know that during the preparation, I was asking Alain what he remembered of our first moment, and there was this passion indeed. But he also remembered that I was wearing a blue dress, and I said, no, it was a purple dress. But so he did remember the dress anyhow. So indeed, as Alain said, I do like interaction. So the first thing that I would like you to do is I will ask Sophie, that is Alain's daughter, who is taking care of the technical practicalities today, to launch a poll. And so I'm going to ask you a question right away. So Sophie, I'm inviting you now, first of all, to launch the poll. And then afterwards, I will tell you a story. Sophie, would you like to launch the poll? Sophie?
Sorry, I was interacting directly through the chat. So normally the polls are activated in the tab on the upper screen.
The poll is activated.
And is it activated in the main room or in the event?
Main room section.
Main room.
The main room section. So, okay, so for upfront, for everybody at the right, you have like on the left, you have event. On the right, you have the main room. And there you have chat polls, attendees, Q&A. And so there you have the poll, indeed. So you all see, so I repeat, on the right, you have event and main room. I first was in the event, but you have to click on main room. And then in the main room, you have chat polls and attendees. So you have to go to the poll. And there you see my question to you. So what is your favorite statement? And you can choose only one. So I invite you to go to the poll and to say what is your favorite statement. And you can only choose one. So please tell me, what is your favorite statement? We already see, Alain, the answers coming in, but we will wait for a couple of seconds more.
And without a lot of surprises, there is a clear trend appearing, the very last one.
Okay.
76.3%.
Good. We will wait for 10 seconds more, and then I think we can close, because indeed I think that the favorite statement is already clear. There's already maybe 52 votes, something that we will have to learn. And then maybe the second one, but not with a lot of votes. Hybrid is about 2 or 3 days remote, Alain. And so Sophie, I invite you to close the poll. Because in fact, one of the things that I would like you to know after this presentation, that for me, personally, I am convinced about the fact that hybrid is not about 2 or 3 days remote. And in fact, that's one of the main messages I would like to give now. Okay, so let's close now the poll. As a preparation of this talk, I have been thinking what I was going to do, and I had different things in my mind. I first thought, well, maybe I can give like a kind of a summary of my book, but I think, well, no, people just have to read my book. And then I was thinking, maybe I can give a kind of a keynote speech about hybrid ways of working, but you know, it is already 5 o'clock, and maybe I should do something more fun. And those amongst you who know me, they know that I like writing stories and that I like to tell stories. So in fact, what I did is I have written a story for you, and I'm going to read it out loud. The genesis of the book. This book, the manifesto on hybrid ways of working, did not drop down onto my lap just like that. Over all these years, the book has been taking shape in my mind. And this evening, I'm taking you back to the very dawning. I'm taking you back to the genesis of my book. I would like to talk about the 7 seeds that were planted in my head. 7 seeds that grew and led me to writing the book during the Easter holidays of this year. I think I will be talking about 12 to 15 minutes, and I hope I can inspire you with my story. But after this, since I like interaction, I will turn to you with a question. And so my question for you will be, which are the 3 words in this story that you would like to remember? Which are the 3 words in this story you will be taking away? Let's get started with seed number 1. You have to know that as a child, I spend a lot of time with my grandmother. She's not the kind of grandmother to spoil her grandchildren. Whenever I am with her, there is work to be done. Laziness is the devil's pillow. My grandmother is convinced that girls are meant to have a classical upbringing. To her mind, this means you speak fluent French, Alain, you play the piano, and you are able to join in on just about any conversation. But don't be mistaken. For my grandmother, this is not the groundwork for marriage with a suited rich man. It is the groundwork for a life where women fend for themselves. I remember, as if it were yesterday, that we are sitting around a table in her living room. My grandmother has an acute form of rheumatism. She cannot move around the house that easily, but she rules her kingdom from that same room with the power of language. She writes letters, she engages in long conversations on the phone, and she receives guests. It is December 1975. Isabel, we are going to write Christmas cards together for those people I used to have a good relationship with when I was headmistress at my school. Don't forget, Isabel, build up a network and continue to learn by keeping in touch with interesting people. That, Isabel, is very important. I'm hardly 7 years old. My grandmother has always been headmistress at a school, and for her, autonomy and self-determination just go without saying. Self-realization through learning is key. Whenever we go on holiday with the family to the south of France, a notebook travels along in the suitcase. A gift from my grandmother. It was a notebook packed with extra exercises for solfège and French grammar. Study for half an hour every day. That gives the day ribbon, even on holidays, she says when she hands the notebook to my mother. One for my sister and one for me. Escaping simply is impossible. That, my dear audience, was seed number 1 for the book. We are traveling through to 1996. The future of learning is clear. People will take their learning processes into their own hands, and they will be in the driver's seat of their own development. And I am convinced that technology will help with that. Speaking is a certain Valère Meus. At that moment, he is in charge of the center I work for. It is called the Language Center of the University of Ghent. He is a visionary man. But to my great disappointment, his positive view on learning does not get translated into the day-to-day functioning of the center. There are only 25 of us, but yet a strict hierarchy dictates the group. Leaders have the right to a better parking space. Leaders have the right to have more holidays, and they also have access to more information. I captured this last insight when I tried to connect with a professor at a Dutch university carrying out research about e-learning. I called the Netherlands from my desk in the Sint-Pietersnierstraat in Ghent, and I simply cannot get to him. When I tell the director about it, he says, "Of course not, Isabel. Your position in the hierarchy does not allow you to call abroad." Can you imagine that? His words really hit me. So a position in a hierarchy can deny people access to knowledge? And so it is possible to deprive people of opportunities to develop, of opportunities for professional happiness? I am convinced about the fact that knowledge is power. So yes, knowledge equals happiness. And it is my conviction that denying people access to knowledge trespasses the border of criminality. That, my dear audience, was seed number 2. In August 2005, I became account manager at Kluwer Opleidingen. My first day at work was simply a disaster. At the University of Ghent, I had my own office. But at Kluwer Opleidingen, most people sit in a landscape office. There is an overwhelming chit-chat buzzing through the day. And to make matters even worse, the radio is always on. I simply cannot focus, so I regularly flee to meeting rooms. But there is a rescue. I'm rescued in 2012. And rescue comes in the form of remote working, working from home, which was promoted by my employer. Working from home for me was not an immediate success. I am stressed. And every evening I send my boss an email with a list of things I have been doing that day. I work longer hours and I send out more and more emails, and all of that to prove how hard I have been working. Isabel, my boss says in a meeting, please stop sending me these emails. I trust you. Being transparent about your work is important, of course, but I want you to do something else. At the end of each week, I want you to send me an answer to the following question. With which kind of activities are you creating added value for Kluwer Opleidingen? This is the best question I've ever been asked, and I'm still grateful to my former boss, Johan de Meijer, to do so. So, from that day on, I start to become more conscious about the way I use my time, and really my mindset changes. Work is no longer for me a commitment of effort. It is a commitment of results. And yes, that demands discipline. Starting the day with high-value activities that demand focus without checking your emails is still difficult after all these years. And it is just as Port of Antwerp CDO Erwin Verstralen put it a couple of weeks ago. Productivity is just a daily fight. Every day, I have to think about the discipline my grandmother introduced me to, and that is seed number 3. When I do go to work, to sit in a meeting with my boss and with my colleagues, something catches my attention. Recurring meetings always take place and are always fully consumed, even when there is nothing to talk about. And my boss never prepares for our meetings. I find this a complete waste of time. So I tell him what I have just read about in a book called Remote, really interesting book. In the book, I found meetings are intrusive moments. They take you away from meaningful knowledge work. It is thus important to keep them shorter and more intense by preparing for them in an asynchronous way. My boss is not listening, but discovering the concept of asynchronous collaboration, that for me is seed number 4. So 3 more to go. In 2012, apart from working from home, something else comes my way: social media. I start with Twitter and soon discover LinkedIn. And no one can stop me from connecting with people who are smarter than I am. I see social media as the emancipation of the knowledge worker. I see social media as the portal to lifelong learning. Do you remember my experience at the University of Ghent? Discovering social media encourages me to start communicating in an asynchronous way, allowing me to react to things in my own time, with short and snappy versions of what I want to convey. And then we come to 2015. The emancipating power of social media is no longer an individual endeavor. Organizations are also gearing up for it. And I interview Engie, Robert Bosch, Daimler, Evonik, the Bank of Australia and New Zealand, all of which roll out social technologies to promote knowledge sharing. Knowledge sharing is not soft, Isabel. It allows you to make knowledge explicit and to reuse it to suit the customer's needs. And yes, it is also soft, Isabel, because it allows people to raise their voices, to make them be heard across hierarchical borders, and to find solutions without having to confer with their bosses. It is about empowerment. Willem van Twembeke is speaking. He is a top executive at Engie in 2015. And he explained that this kind of technology is not dehumanizing at all. Quite the contrary. He says, I see that people are proud of being able to share their knowledge and that they feel more connected to the organization because of technology, he explains. Emancipation, autonomy, lifelong learning by learning from and with each other across all borders, asynchronous collaboration. It all comes together in social technology. A few years before that, in 2012, Frank van Massenhoven launches Het Nieuwe Werken, New Ways of Working. And he says, employees who are in the driver's seat of their professional lives are happier and they perform better. Frank van Massenhoven binds two elements together, happiness at work and delivering results. Being people-oriented and being result-driven are not opposites. They are yin and yang. And yes, Willem van Twembeke's words make it obvious that social technologies can encourage this. Discovering the power of social media for the individual and for the organization. That was seed number 5. So 2 more to go. It has become a tradition. Every Christmas, my mother hands out a Christmas card to each of us. And here she reflects upon the past year and expresses her wishes for the year to come. Isn't it time for a new book, Isabel? That's what my mother writes in mine, and it's December 2019. And her Christmas card is seed number 6. So what is now seed number 7? The 7th and the last seed that I needed is the way in which organizations react now to hybrid ways of working. Hybrid work, that enriching notion of results and people-driven thinking, of self-leadership and autonomy, of empowerment through technology and lifelong learning, all of this is threatened to be reduced to 2 days working from home. Isn't that a pity? Or even worse, conservative voices call employees to go back to work full-time in the office. I get a kick up my backside. A voice within me starts to stir. Isabel, are you going to just sit and watch how the rich notion of hybrid work is reduced to 2 days working from home? Do you agree that hybrid work gets reduced to managing hybrid meetings? Hybrid meetings simply don't work. And do you want hybrid work to die before it is even born? The cry of that voice is so loud that I cannot ignore it. And so I decide to write a book. And here it is, the book. And it's a message of hope. Hope that after Corona, we will foster work days with more focus, with less interruptions, with more happiness. Hope that after Corona, we foster meaningful knowledge work that will better serve the customer. Hybrid work is not about 2 days working from home. It's about yin and yang, about a healthy balance between working on your own and working together with other people, between synchronous and asynchronous collaboration, between focused work for just a couple of hours and then letting the mind loose for less focused work. It's about working on paper and working on a screen. It's a balance between physical and digital activities, and all of that to create more value for the customer. So let's sail all together to find that new, healthy balance. So that was it, Alain. My story about the genesis of the book.
Great, interesting, inspiring.
Okay, I hope that you liked the story about my grandmother. So it all started, Alain, and I'm not joking, it started in 1975 when I was just like 7 years old. Okay, so now I would like to invite the people to go to the chat. Do they have to go to the chat of the event or the main room, Alain?
Main room, the chat of the main room. So everybody stays on the main room and simply use the chat function for what you will ask them now.
Okay, so I see some people that I recognize. Angine, okay. So my question to you is, I hope that you have been inspired by my talk. And so I would like you to write down in the chat, which are the words that you would like to remember from the story that I have been telling you. So I invite you to go to the chat of the main room. And so please write down the words that you would like to remember from my story. And the first words already come in. And I see we have really an interactive audience, Alain. Isn't that great?
Yes.
And I also see Connie Hoges. So I've been referring to Walter Skluwer, and I think I would like to say thank you to Connie, because she has also played a very important role in my professional life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Alain, I'm also going to ask you to go through the chat.
Yeah,
the power of language, yes, of course. And then maybe just take one that you really like. So just take the time to
there are so many.
I know, yes, I see.
Oh.
And they keep on coming. But I'm going to look for one that I really like. So maybe if you want to take the time, one that you really like. So which is your preferred one, Alain?
Not that I prefer like it, but as you like to be challenged, I will take the one from Isabel Jose. Productivity is a daily fight.
Yeah.
How should you comment on that, Isabel?
I think it is absolutely true, because so I said that I start my working days with the high value activities. So I always block like 2 hours a day. And I have to say that I have been doing that since I discovered the book written by Cole Newport. It is called Deep Work. And so I'm doing this for 6 years already. And I have to say, Alain, it is still a fight every day, because you have these emails and you have all these notifications. But yeah, so it is about discipline. A lot of discipline, but I think I got this discipline because of my grandmother. So yeah, we need really a lot of discipline. I'm going to take out, maybe, do you have one more, Alain?
Yes, here from Joris Boeve, Yin Yang.
Yeah.
Yin Yang together with network and added value. Do you see a correlation between the three terms, yin yang, network, and added value?
Can you repeat that? Wait, I'm going to have a look. So the yin and yang between?
Do you see a correlation between yin yang, network, and added value?
Network and added value. Well, for me, I think one of the ways to keep on creating added value for my customer is to be influenced by other people. And so for me, the network is a source of inspiration. But that is not maybe what Joris Boeve wanted to say. But maybe we could ask Joris to speak up if he wants to ask me a question.
Joris, if you want to join, please just click on...
but Joris van der Steen. Yes, Joris, hey, van het VBO.
Here he is. Okay, just a second. Here you are. Hello, Joris. Please comment on the question. Please unmute your microphone.
You are unmuted, Joris. Dat is een meest.
Okay, it's better now.
That's always the same problem. That's one of the tricky things with hybrid meetings, I think, and then digital meetings also, that everyone is struggling with. Well, I was just very inspired by your talk, Isabel, of course, and the yin yang is something I feel really throughout the way we are trying to implement hybrid working through the organization. I work for the Flemish government, so it's a very hard struggle, but it's it's an and question. So that's, for me, that's quite clear. And networking and knowledge through networking, knowledge through and whatever is so important for my work, but I don't think for the work for everybody. And one of the points we are really stressing throughout our policy within the Flemish government is we have to create added value for our citizens, for the companies in Flanders. So the three things are a little bit different but they are necessary. They are just necessary to implement hybrid working throughout the organization. That's
yeah. Okay, so thank you very much.
There
is thank you, Joris. There is a question asked by Sabine from Germany. She said, "Could you share the seats in the chat again? I listened so intensely that I forgot to write down for me." I have but I think Sabine, what I'm going to do is I think I will make also like a kind of a video of the different seats, and I will also share it on LinkedIn or on my website. So I will. If you follow me on LinkedIn or go and have a look on my website, then you can find the information again. Because now I would like to focus on the interaction with the different people. By the way, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, I think that somewhere I've also put somewhere a summary of the 7 seats of the story. So I see from Alain the self-determination. And Angine says happiness at work.
I see a new one appearing that could be interesting from Gwen Kuiper. If your manager didn't trust you, would this have changed your story?
I think absolutely. Even this morning I was doing a workshop with Acerta, and then Chris Wurtens, he said like one of the essential elements of hybrid ways of working is that there is trust between, but not only from the trust between the employer and the employee, but also I think that maybe I did not trust Johan de Meijer that he was going to trust me. So it's not only about the employee trusting the employer and the employer having trust in the employee, but it would have changed. It would have changed everything. Maybe it's also all this exercise, Alain, I came through is because my role at Kluwer Opleidingen was a bit strange. It was not that clear for me, so I really had to fight a bit to show the added value of what was I was doing. And I think that it helped me to be in the driver's seat of the way I use my time, because I had to prove that my function and what I was doing was really giving an added value to my organization. I think I've learned a lot by doing so. And I think that a lot of employees, they just take their job for granted. You know, we have this contract and we will be paid. And sometimes I call it aangeleerde hulpeloosheid. You know, you don't have to always to be in the driver's seat, because you get, you know, you just get work from the emails and you're invited to meetings. But yeah, that puts you in a very fragile position.
Yeah. I see another one coming from Patrick Van Aken. Does an organization need rules, principles? Does an organization need rules and or principles when implementing hybrid work?
Yeah.
And if so, what are, in your opinion, those rules and principles? The 2 or 3 key ones.
Yeah. I think an interesting case is the one from Telenet. I think that, by the way, Kirsten Florenti, she's also listening. So what they said at Telenet is we are going to give you guiding principles, but no strict rules. And the guiding principles are, yes, we think that physical interaction in our office is important. And so we would like you to come to the office 40% of the time. And so this presence is not to be guaranteed at an individual level, but at team level. Also interesting. And it is not to be guaranteed at a weekly level, but at a quarterly level. And they also say we are not going to control whether people are going to respect these rules, because we trust them. So you need like guiding principles and saying also that you trust people. Another element that I find interesting is, for example, Anne Kaluwaerts, when she talks about hybrid ways of working at Telenet, what she repeats on every time is the following. She says, Our guiding principles are to be revised regularly. So she says in an explicit way, this is a period of experimentation. This is a period of transition. And so we are not even sure about the guidelines. So we have to revise them, and we need short feedback loops. That is another a really interesting thing. And also a third element, Alain. Most organizations just say we are going to do hybrid ways of working. 2 days of working from home will be allowed, but there is no why. Why are they implementing hybrid ways of working? So start with why, like from Simon Sinek, nothing new, but why are they doing so? And I think a beautiful why of implementing hybrid ways of working is about shaping a result-oriented and a human-oriented organization to create added value for the customer. That would be like a nice why, but I don't hear it. And the customer always is absent in the story.
I have a question, Isabel. Yesterday, at the same moment, we had a session of our CIO executive circle about pivotal IT, and one of the key drivers to pivot some elements of the IT strategy is the new workplace and the new hybrid workplace. And something was highly interesting. We had the global CIO of a well-known chemical company saying, of course, our job is about technology, but we don't see technology as the enabler or as the problem. Technology is there, we just need to implement it. We see in the new hybrid work and workplace that the biggest challenge, not just for HR, but also for us as CIOs, is the people reluctance to change. So in your opinion, and with the many interviews you have already had in your life, and more specifically to prepare your book, do you believe that effectively reluctance to change could be the biggest barrier to effective hybrid workplaces?
Change is not easy. If people are asked to change their habitudes, what they do every day, it is difficult. Why, Alain? Because it takes energy. It takes energy to do the things in a new way. And I have been reading also a lot of books about habit formation. And one of the things I have been reading is the following. If you want people to change their habits, the new habits should fit with their identity. So working with each other in an asynchronous way, having meetings that are shorter and more meaningful, scheduling time to do meaningful work in order to create added value for your company, and really create added value for the customer. With which kind of identity do you think that it fits? I think it fits with individuals, with knowledge workers who want to be in the driver's seat, of their own professional developments. So I'm also a bit stuck. So what are we going to do with the knowledge workers who don't want to be in the driver's seat of their professional well-being and happiness? But I think, and that is one of the things that I say in the book, like intentionality about the way you use your time brings happiness. And what I want to say, like my grandmother said to me, that networking, being aware of the way you use your time, lifelong learning and discipline brings happiness and gives a higher productivity. So that is the message that I want to give, and I think it is a beautiful message. But is it easy to change our ways of working together? Absolutely not. As I said, scheduling my focus time and keeping up to it is really a difficult thing to do. But if I do it, Alain, I can end my working day with a feeling of, yes, I have contributed to humanity. I have done something useful, and it's all about well-being and happiness.
Yeah. And this comes to me to another question. Happiness is very often bounded with hybrid work and productivity and so on. And I remember a couple of years ago, we had the CIO of ArcelorMittal in our HR circle saying about people happiness and happiness at work. He simply said, you know, even if it is important to have people happy in the work environment, our mandate as HR people is not to make people happy. We are mandated and paid to make people productive. So to believe that productivity in the hybrid workplace could go without taking care of the real happiness.
No, productivity and happiness should be linked. That's the message also I give in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, but in fact, it didn't mean that happiness is not important. But in fact, between the lines, he said, too many HR people focus on happiness at work.
Okay.
Productivity at work.
Okay.
Because he said happiness is great, but happy people are not necessarily productive.
Okay, but then I said, Alain, in the story, remember I talked about the yin and the yang. It's about human-oriented and result-oriented organization, and the two should go together. That's for me hybrid ways of working. Yeah, linking the two of them, both of them. Yeah.
We have here a question from Guillaume de Foucault. Isabel, what is your opinion on hybrid work in terms of sectors, activities, and positions? So, do you believe that hybrid work will be a kind of universal proposal, a universal possibility, or will it be reserved to a certain type of activity, a certain type of enterprises, large, small, medium-sized, or to a certain level of positions or people?
There is some research already about how organizations react or which kind of choices they are making. And it is clear that everything that is in the dienstensector, I even do not know how to say that in English, is more prone to hybrid ways of working. And I also would like to emphasize that my domain of expertise, Alain, is about the knowledge worker. The knowledge worker. And so I think that hybrid ways of working is like a kind of an ode to the knowledge worker. But for example, about people working in production, that is not my expertise. And so the book focuses on knowledge workers. And I think that hybrid ways of working suits especially for knowledge work.
Yeah. Thank you.
And of course there will be, that is also something that is always coming back. There is no one size fits all anymore. But so for example, I was listening to a webinar with Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, and he said, we will need more flexibility. It means just not that the organization can ask for more flexibility from the employee, but the employee can ask also more flexibility from the organization. But we will have different solutions for different teams. But I think that het refrein, the message that should always come back is this combination of being result-oriented and human-oriented, of discipline and well-being. That should always come back. But then the way that you can work in a synchronous or an asynchronous, there will be differences between teams, of course.
Yeah.
And nobody can predict the future. Nobody can predict the future. But what I also want to say, Alain, then we go to the next question, is if organizations do not, and I do not know how to say that in English, als zij geen kleur bekennen, if they don't make a serious choice on what they want, then the reality will that we all go back to the office. Because, well, als je een kleur bekent, then the reality will be a bit more gray. But if you start with gray, then we all go back to the office. So I hope that organizations will make a choice. Vinden wij dat resultaat en mensgerichte echt belangrijk? And do we really want that people can end their day with a good feeling? And do we really want to get rid of toxic meeting culture? Do we really want it? So, yeah. They should speak up and say why. So that is the why for hybrid ways of working. But please do not reduce it to hybrid meetings, because I repeat, hybrid meetings do not work. If you reduce hybrid ways of working to hybrid meetings, it simply does not work. So it would be a pity. That's one of the reasons I have written the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I said that you love challenges, and that's a good one. So a challenging question, I would say, from Steven Scheer, so Global Chief HR Officer at ICI, so a satellite company in Finland. And Steven says, I'm skeptical, as I believe that many companies will not take the opportunity to drive substantial change. I already hear them saying, our boss does not like hybrid, I in HR have no power to make this happen. What will the union say about this, and so on and so on. So the question from Steven, are you optimistic that substantial change will happen when the crisis will be defined as finished?
Mm-hmm. In the first chapter, Alain, of the book, I explained that hybrid ways of working, as I try to define it, is nothing new. It started already in the 80s from the other century with a certain guy, Friedhof Bergmann. He's an Austrian guy. He was a Jew. He immigrated to the United States to become a professor of philosophy. In the 80s, Alain, he already launched new ways of working. And one of the things he said was the following. He said, work should be meaningful and should be interesting and should strengthen our people instead of making them very tired at the end of the day. So instead of exhausting them. That was said, Alain, in the 80s. So that's already a long time ago. And then there was the wave of the Agile Manifesto. So this call for more agility and an external view. Then there was the wave of social technologies, of empowerment, and so on. And so what I see is that this wave comes back, and it was prepared a long years ago. I think it would take like even more years before we can really change our ways of working together. It's like getting rid of industrialization and taking more into account the beauty of the individual knowledge worker. Am I optimistic? I'm hesitating, Alain. I'm hesitating, but that's also one of the reasons I've written the book, and the color of the cover is green. The green is the color of hope, the hope of a new beginning. And we will see.
That's why you called it a manifesto.
Yeah, and a manifesto. Yeah, a manifesto because it's like een vuist op de tafel. Yes, a manifesto, but it is done in 7 suggestions. So the word suggestions also suggests that I'm not sure, but the title of each suggestion, Alain, is an imperative. So I'm a bit ambiguous myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I invite people to read the book.
Yeah, of course. Another question from Patrick Van Aken. In your opinion, which competencies should be developed to embrace the hybrid work and its full potential?
That's really a nice question. It all starts, I think, Alain, with wanting to be in the driver's seat of the use of your time. It starts with a heightened consciousness of the way you use your time and wanting to create added value and to be more proactive. So it does not start with a skill, it starts with the mindset of wanting to do so. And then the skills are about better meetings, better communicating.
Yeah. Another question. Hybrid work is not something new. You didn't invent it. We talk about it for years already. And what could be surprising is that now suddenly it's top of mind in all organizations, to the CHRO, to the CFO, to the CEO, to the COO, to the CMO, everywhere. Did we really need a pandemic to move definitely to the hybrid work? Why didn't we go before? Did we really need that compelling event or such a compelling event to make things happen?
I think I think you have given the answer yourself.
Why? What is the missing piece for HR department and for organizations as a whole? Why do we always need such a compelling event to make things work. And when I say things work, moving from the nice ideas to the reality.
Yeah, but change is always difficult because it takes energy. It takes energy. But then again, Alain, yeah. What I wanted to say is that at the start of Corona, I have published a blog that was in March at the first lockdown, and I had published a blog. And do you know what the title was, Alain? The title was "Lang leven Corona." Long live Corona. Finally, we have a thing to promote the digital workplace. Finally, people will be stuck at home and will be maybe more conscious about the way they use your time. And then I launched the article, Alain, and I got 3 very negative reactions from people from my network. So then I changed the title. But I still think, yeah, lang leve Corona. Yeah. Despite, of course, of all the things that have happened. So I hope, it is my hope. No, I'm going to say you something else. During the pandemic, there was an Italian author. His name is Paolo Giordano, and he has written a small book. And he says, and it's on the cover book, "It is my fear that when we awake from this pandemic, that nothing will be changed." And I also refer to it in my book. Yeah. It is my fear that after Corona, nothing will change. But so my book is there to give, like, anyhow, a kind of a message, a message of hope, a hope of, yeah.
Joris Boef already gives you a kind of answer. Never waste a good crisis.
Yes, it is true. But as I see, Alain, which kind of conservative voices that I hear on social media, and when I see that organizations, and I repeat it, reduce hybrid ways of working to 2 days working from home without a why vision behind it, then what is going to happen? Yeah. Oh yeah, we will have hybrid meetings, so we embrace hybrid ways of working. No. Yeah. So in fact, what I want to say, it is about a belief in the power of the knowledge worker, and in the belief and in the beauty of focused, meaningful knowledge work. Is er nu iets schoner dan dat? Yeah. But what I also think is, Alain, that pour la petite histoire, it was just before the lockdown, and I was giving a training in a company. I'm not going to tell you which company. And so people were talking, and I was giving a training to managers. And so there was this in the news that people would be allowed to work from home. Alain, did you know what they said in my training? They said, if they really think that they can keep on working from home after the pandemic, well, then they are wrong. That was the only thing that I heard during the training. And I was shocked, because so they don't trust their people. But I also think that, of course, managers, they did a lot of effort to get this job of being a manager, and that controlling people gives you a meaning of life, and you have done a lot of efforts to get the job. And then now somebody tells you that you should just trust your people. So you take away a bit of their identity. So I also understand that there is resistance. But in fact, it is a kind of philosophical issue. Het gaat over het mensbeeld. Heb je een positief mensbeeld of niet? Do you believe in the power of the knowledge worker? And so what I really makes me almost cry, Alain, is that I see now these campaigns of back to work. Back to work, Alain. What have we all been doing the last year? We have been working like hell. And now organizations tell us that we have to go back to work. Ah ja, nee, dan word ik boos. Ja.
This means that those organizations didn't understand what happens. We don't have to go back to work. We simply work differently. Yeah. And I hope that the message is not, let's go back to work and back to work as before. No, preferably not. Or maybe yes, and everybody has the right to think about it. So I remember that you spoke about your grandmother. I remember my grandfather very often saying, in a real old, typical dialect from Ghent, he said, on a tous besoin d'une bonne guerre de temps en temps. So do you believe that HR needs a good old pandemic from time to time?
Ja, dat is een beetje
Will
discriminatief, hè?
this
Ja.
be the norm, having a pandemic or something similar? So something highly disruptive, just to shake the brains and to make the thing that we could do tomorrow and make them happen today, because we have no choice. As Yvonne Fischer says, yes, we have changed everything because we didn't have the choice.
Yeah, but maybe it's because of the attitude of the business leaders. And I just want to read you something that I found on LinkedIn this morning. It comes from Adam Grant. He is an author. I'm just going to read it. He had 50,000 likes, Alain. 50,000 likes. I'm going to read it. To the leaders trying to cancel all remote work. Did you forget when we made it work during a pandemic? Productivity is about purpose and process. It's not about place. It's driven by why and how we work, not where we work. Flexibility is here to stay, and those who reject it may not be. He had 50,000 likes on LinkedIn, but of course he has written it because of decision taken by Apple. Apple that said 3 or 4 days a week, people have to go back to the office. Yeah. So we will see what is going to happen, Alain. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some other questions because we just have 3 minutes left. Or maybe there is somebody else who would like to raise his or her voice, and then we could listen
if
to you.
someone wants to join live, please do. We still have some minutes. So I see interesting things from Steven Scheers, from Patrick Van Hendrigen, from Els de Baar, among many others. So let's have it interactive, and please just come with your cam and a microphone, and just please please talk interactively with
Steven Scheers. Oh no, sorry. Who was somebody already talking?
Steven, do you feel relevant now to join and to give personally your new comment? Please feel free to join. If not, of course, no obligation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe not. So what could we do? Okay, Patrick Van Genteren. Will companies who do not trust remote working and remote workers lose their better employees? So the question, in other words, is: do you believe that now hybrid working in an organization will be a new norm for talent retention and talent acquisition, or is it wishful thinking?
I think I think that might be true, and so one of the reasons why organizations could choose new ways of working is because they want to attract a certain kind of people, attract those people who want to be proactive and who want to be in the driver's seat of the way they use their time. So that is my hope, but I'm not sure it will happen because, of course, also people need a job. But I even heard it this morning that an organization said, we are going to do that. We are going to work in this way because then we believe that we have the best people and that we attract the best talent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a way of talent acquisition too. Yeah.
Yeah, time is running. So before moving to the open roundtable, where I hope that we will have more interactivity with all participants, maybe a last and very interesting question that I see here appearing. Isabel, many CEOs believe that hybrid work will reduce people proximity and kill social cohesion. What do you think about this? Do you tend to agree or to disagree?
Yeah, this is like one of the arguments that people use to bring people back to the office. You know, we need the coffee machine because at the coffee machine we have proximity, and there we have like this ideal situation for innovation. And then I say, I think it's quite the opposite. Who are you talking with at the coffee machine? It's always the same people. So I think that if you stay within the company, that the research and development will become rather incestuous. What you have to do is that you have have to encourage people to connect with people from other organizations. Or for example, what Umicore is doing, they call it the Lotto Lunch. The Lotto Lunch means that before Corona, they give a name and then they match you with another name like Tinder, and then you can have you can have dinner together at the cafeteria. And of course, in Corona, it was not possible anymore. And now they do it in a digital way. And now they are matching people from Belgium and India, for example, and they put them together. So do you need the office to be with other people in proximity? I think that proximity is more about working together, and then you can do this also in a digital way. And also, and that is the last thing that I'm going to say, by Johanan Einikel, a really interesting guy to follow working for Ethion, I found an American professor of psychology, Michael Steger. And Michael Steger is interested in the following question. He's interested in the question, when are people happy in their work? And he found 4 elements. The first element is they feel that they contribute to a bigger whole, a bigger purpose that transcends themselves as an individual. So you have this purpose and the fact that you contribute, and that you feel you contribute because of feedback from colleagues and from clients and from your manager. It's also an organization where the values resonate with your own values and where you are encouraged to develop yourself. And I believe, Alain, that those 4 elements also make sure that people feel connected to the organization. Yeah? They need to know which is the bigger whole. For example, Kluwer Opleidingen, and we were training people. This was about making people better in their job. That was this higher purpose. And when my boss or when my client said, yes, you are doing good work, I feel I contributed. I had opportunities by Connie Hoge and Jammer to develop myself, and the values resonated with my own values. And therefore, I did not have to see my colleagues in a physical way. So the coffee corner is okay, but the coffee corner is not deep genoeg to go to a deep connection. You need much more. So don't tell me that you use the coffee corner, to guarantee connection with your people. And I think that people also realize now, being at home and only being with their own work, without the funny talks with the colleagues and the nice chairs, that just their work, that maybe they don't have that purpose that transcends the individual, that the manager is a bad manager because the manager is not able to say, oh, you contribute in that way. But taking them back to the coffee corner will not solve these problems. Yeah. It's 6 o'clock. Sorry.
Yeah, but I would like us to take 3 minutes more, because there's a new question that I really believe is worth to be addressed. And as you love challenges, believe me, it is a nice challenge. Because, well, it's not a difficult question, but probably it won't be easy for you to answer in with just some words. It comes from Alain de Marc, so someone, a very known person within the CIO community, saying that going to an hybrid mode is a transformation exercise from a people and technology perspective. But what should be, in your opinion, the roadmap to a hybrid world? Because in a transformation exercise,
yeah,
we need a roadmap. So where should we start, in your opinion, for building the roadmap?
I don't think map girl, Alain. That's one thing. But yeah, I see another screen on the right. Okay, good. Our organizations should ask themselves why they want to embrace hybrid ways of working. The why should be clear. Do you really want to get rid of your toxic meeting culture? How do you think that you can create added value for your clients? So the why should be clear. And then I think and then having these guiding principles for teams. And then I think that teams should sit together. And I think that the summer holidays are the best period to do so. And I give teams a list of questions, Alain. The first question is to be answered by the team. With which kind of activities do we really create added value? That's number 1. Number 2, did we schedule focus time in a proactive way to work on our high value activities? And then number 3, how do we want to interact? Do we want to interact in a synchronous way, or what can be done in an asynchronous way? And so if you meet in a synchronous way, what has to be done in a digital way, and what has to be done in a physical way? But what I see now, Alain, is that organization jump immediately to the last question, only to what is to be done digital and in a physical way. But the first question is, why are we doing this? And do we really want our people to be happy that there are less distraction, etc.? So that's one of the questions. And the technology, you don't need a roadmap anymore, because the technology is there. It's a mindset thing. And it starts with the why from the top. Why are you embracing hybrid ways of working? Why? The why should be clear.
Yeah, of course. And the ultimate very last question that, of course, I cannot miss to ask you, what will be your next book about?
Is that your question or a question that was in the chat? Because I don't see the chat.
I'm just a representative of all the people connected, and probably that they all have the question. So what will be your next manifesto? Already an idea in mind?
No, I don't know. What I think is a bit of pity is that last year there was the book launch of my book Krult, and I was not able to do it in a physical way. And now, so it's already the second time that I don't have the possibility to do it in a physical way. So maybe next year, but I don't know it yet, Alain. It might be a Gekrult number 2, but I'm not sure. But I will keep on writing, because like telling stories is what I like to do. So the first part, so I've written down this story on Sunday, and I really had fun doing it. And also, like, inspiring other people to tell stories is something that I really like to do, and making people reflect upon their high value activities and how they can create more happiness and more productivity. Because in fact, this weekend I was talking with a friend, and she said, "Oh, but Isabel, this is an efficiency story." I said, "Yes, efficiency for the sake of the customer and for the sake of yourself, that you can stop working at a certain time so that you can do other things and develop yourself in another way." It's an efficiency thing, and it's an old topic. But technology allowed us to work together in an asynchronous way. And dat is echt nieuw. Dat is echt nieuw. For example, this Willem van Twembeek, he told me this connection that we have between the engineers worldwide would never have been possible without Yammer. And I could never have had the possibility of being an entrepreneur without social technology. So the technology, social technologies are really a key element, and Microsoft Teams and asynchronous communication and focus key. And it's new. Yeah, well.
Perfect. Isabel, it's now high time to move to the roundtable session for those who want to join. And I really and strongly encourage everybody to join that open roundtable. So just activate your microphone and cams, and please come. And just before moving, so you just click in the rooms, and you will see the session or roundtable, or if you prefer to network with other participants, up to you, of course. And I would like just to close by thanking you, Isabel, for your kindness, for the way you explain and you turn different difficult things in such an easy and understandable way. It's an art in itself. And also, I would like just to remind or to announce to everybody that the HR Leadership Summit 2021 will be held in a hybrid format, so physical and digital, on 17th of November. And guess what it will address? That's digital workplaces and digital work, the road ahead 2021. And Isabel, please book the date in your diary, because I already have a great idea to invite you as a speaker, but for a nice confrontation of you with someone else that I have in mind too. It could be the debate of the century.
Okay, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for having been with us. And of course, if you have time and if you want to continue to share views or to talk directly with Isabel, so please join the open roundtable by clicking on the rooms button at the left side on your screen. Okay. Have a nice summer and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.